When I'm not working at my side job narrating audiobooks as the Macho Man Randy Savage.
And the great advantage of being a literary woman was that you could go everywhere and do everything.
I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. What is the one thing that as a guitar player makes you different from other guitar players? Or what is the one thing that you can play and maybe no other can play easily? Well, first of all, I don't really even consider myself a great guitar player in any capacity, but I do feel that I have a voice on a guitar, and I remember what I used to do before I felt like I had a voice, and I just kind of sounded how, you know, I feel everybody kind of sounded that was in the same general level of experience. And to me, finding your voice on a guitar is really just having a basic understanding of how things work and then being able to kind of like choose the chord voicings and you know, scale work that you do and understanding where your tastes come from. That's why like music theory is a huge part of my channel and what I try to like get across to everybody, because as soon as I was like able to understand what made me different, or you know, just maybe somewhat unique on the instrument, is that I never really gravitated towards the one chord in any progression. Really kind of any progression that I would naturally write without using any music theory, never had the one chord. So what I mean by that, like if I'm playing something in the key of C, I would always gravitate towards the 4 chord in that key. So that's one thing that I guess makes me, you know, I guess non-basic, even though it's not like the craziest thing in the world, but I gravitate towards the 4 chord. Some people would call that like a Lydian bias, I suppose. And I generally naturally write in 3/4 as compared to 4/4. So again, a lot of people do that too. It's not super special, but just from what I do is I'll use extended chords. A lot of people know major 7 chord is kind of where it's at, which is really just another extension of the 4 chord. I really hammer home on the 4 chord. A lot of stuff I'll do in more of a minor key, even if it is Lydian-ish, and I play almost everything in 3. So I guess that's kind of what, you know, gives me my voice. But again, all of that is just kind of like a conglomeration of all the skills that you kind of go after and really focus to spend time on. I was never like a huge blistering speed lead scale type guy, and I think that comes through in my playing, even though I have a pretty working understanding of how everything works. But you know, that's why I just choose to focus on your influences. Knowing what makes them special won't necessarily make you copy them, but it'll make you more thoughtful about what it is that you kind of like, what you want to get out of your instrument. And I think eventually, once you have enough experience playing, you'll find that you do have a voice. So I think it's hard for me to even explain what kind of makes me different, but my top 2 things would definitely be kind of a Lydian bias and playing everything in a waltz. For the next QA, Sean, for starting out guitar teachers, do you recommend teaching a syllabus/book or ad-lib instruction for each student? I remember when I first started teaching, I was like, I'm gonna have a syllabus, I'm gonna have a curriculum, and it's gonna be awesome, and I'm gonna be super professional, and that didn't last very long, because what you grow to realize once you start teaching people is different students are gonna respond totally differently to different methods of teaching. So I think as I got more experience and as I just became a better teacher in general, ad-libbing is the way to go. I mean, there's kind of like a voice in the back of your head when you first start just like winging it. It's like, well, maybe I'm not like taking this seriously enough. But honestly, like, I think a good teacher in a one-on-one situation should be able to kind of like diagnose the best way for a student to learn and be able to kind of like on the fly see what's working, especially with like kids, like high schoolers and stuff. It could change drastically day to day what they're gonna respond to. So I don't really teach from a syllabus like at all anymore. Now some kids and some people in general respond better to kind of having like goals written out. So in that case, it's kind of like a hybrid like syllabus/winging it kind of feel. But in my experience, it's always better. You're always gonna get better results just from kind of like being able to tailor a lesson to a particular student. So that's why I don't really believe in curriculum teaching in general. But again, everybody's got their own thing. This is kind of my style, and it seems to have been working. Sean, thanks for all you do. Your videos are insanely helpful. What is the best way to support you? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, and please feel free to send me money. I think the best way to do that is probably PayPal. I'll link my PayPal thing in the description if any of you legends out there are awesome enough to feel like donating money. I know I don't really have anything for sale. I don't really have like a Patreon. I'm thinking about maybe kind of doing some kind of website thing with Stitch coming soon. So definitely 2019 there will be something out there because it would be kind of cool to make some money from the YouTube thing. But yeah, again, I really appreciate everybody out there who's donated before. And if you feel the need to, that would be absolutely awesome. But again, I don't want anybody to ever feel like they have to. So it's always an option, but I appreciate everybody. I appreciate people just for watching and commenting and liking. So again, love the community. Anything you guys want to do to help, it's awesome. Keep rocking. Thanks for the video. By the way, how do you turn a DI up to 11? But seriously, should a bass player just get a DI and a powered monitor that can be used as a PA for small gigs? Yeah, I definitely think so. When I was kind of playing shows as a bass player, it always ended up working out better just kind of having like a powered feed to use as that. And back in the day, I had like one of those smaller Ampeg bass amps that actually just kind of worked as a powered monitor. And really, we just like send a line out of the back of the head of that amp to the soundboard, and really just kind of having all the control from the bass there is usually totally fine. I think that bass specifically in like a smaller kind of setup is much easier to kind of like lose control of when you're really just kind of using the volume of the amp to project out. So I definitely think DI is the way to go, and a lot more people are actually using it for guitar too, just because it's such an easier, cleaner sound to deal with in a mix. So don't be afraid of the DI stuff, because, you know, like a good DI box for like a bass will totally get the job done. What do you think about playing on the street? So I'm assuming playing on the street means like busking, which is actually kind of funny because I've got nothing against busking. Busking seems kind of cool. I haven't really done it a whole lot, but specifically in the area that I live in, busking is like high stakes. Like the performers out there, they get so salty towards one another, and like you can't infringe on someone's territory when they really have no like actual like legal claim over certain territory. But it gets pretty nasty out there from different buskers. And my dude Andreas, who you've seen on the channel a lot, he actually lived in Spain for a while, and his idea was kind of just like take a year off, live abroad with his wife, and kind of busk a little bit. And it was the same thing over there. Like, it's kind of cutthroat. So again, I think every area is a little bit different, but if you're thinking about busking, maybe just kind of like dip your toes in the waters first, or else you might just kind of get stabbed by some crazy wild busking maniac.
Never seen this guy's videos before, and I had to turn it off because this guy seems like such a pompous a-hole.
I have been working hard to really find the appropriate amount of pompousness. Every now and then I'll say something and I'll look back in like the editing and be like, that was extremely pompous. But you know, it's just kind of like a never-ending, really, journey to find the exact appropriate amount of pompousness. So I guess that was too much for that guy. Loving the originals, do you have any suggestions for computers to run a DAW on? Do you think laptops aren't typically strong enough? I have a MacBook Pro, but it's from 2012 and seems to be slowing down, so I've considered getting something new if I can't get it fixed, but I want something that'll be good enough for recording. You're one of the few people on YouTube who I would trust advice from. Please help. So first of all, I want to say that I'm a Mac guy. I'm not like very happy about being a Mac guy, but it's just gotten to the point in the relationship that I've just given up even considering not being a Mac guy. In no way is it better. In no way am I endorsing Apple. In fact, I'm kind of salty about my love-hate relationship with Apple, that I would advise people to go elsewhere. Even though I love Logic is a great program. I've kind of had battles with my iMac, but at the end of the day, it's actually pretty awesome and probably does a lot more than I've even paid the appropriate amount of money for the machine. iMacs, I think in general, are great machines, and even the base model iMacs are gonna be amazing for you to run just Logic off of. My only problems that I've ever had with Mac usually come from like video stuff and like rendering like animation files. Doing that cartoon a couple years ago really kind of like broke my brain a little bit as far as what computing processing even means. So if it's just audio and you're just using like Logic or Pro Tools or Reason or whatever, laptops are fine. And honestly, even like a 2012 laptop, if it's in good running order, is probably fine. I remember before I even had like a you know, souped up iMac, I was running a Pro Tools Digi 03 board with the full version of Pro Tools at like 88.2 kilohertz on one of the white MacBooks, which, you know, by today's computer processing power isn't really that great, but it totally seamlessly, flawlessly ran Logic and Pro Tools back in the day. So, you know, as long as you have, I think, 4 gigs of RAM, you should be fine, depending on the mixing that you do, because really the problems that you're gonna run into is if you're using like a ton of plugins, like high power plugins like on your mix. Like even with like a souped up machine, I can't really track through like a Waves L316 limiter or something without getting latency. But if I don't have plugins on while I'm tracking, it's never ever an issue. It was never an issue on a laptop. You know, please feel free to comment below if you guys have different experiences. But I've generally had excellent experience doing anything audio related on really any type of Mac, from a base model iMac to a good iMac. I used to help out with the studio that ran a Mac Pro that was like, we never ever had an issue. So I'm a begrudging Apple fanboy, love, hater. Any of that stuff is gonna work. One piece of advice that I will have is to not wait until you get something better. See what you can get now and get working, and then just start trying it out. Because home recording stuff in general, mixing, all that stuff is like, there's so much depth that goes into it. You wanna kind of just get into it as soon as you can and not be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna wait until I can afford this like huge, massive setup. Just get going now, because there's so much good stuff out there that is so cheap. Even like the cheap like $100, $200 interfaces out there really are so much better than they used to be. So there's no excuse not to kind of get into home recording, even if it's just to kind of make backing tracks to practice to. So do your thing, whether it's a laptop, even some of these like, you know, tablets and stuff can rock it. So again, no excuse not to make it happen. So for listening homework, I want to throw you to a track that was one of the first songs that I really was able to play and sing at the same time way back in the day. I'd totally forgotten about this song until I was hosting this open mic last week and one of the guys got up there and played it. A song called Reason to Believe by Tim Hardin, not by Rod Stewart. The Rod Stewart version is trash. Rod Stewart people, come fight me. I'm linking you to Tim Hardin. He's the man. Check that out. If you have any questions or comments, hit me in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.